The Author's Shelf.
The Author's Shelf.
The Author's Shelf. The Author's Shelf. It's about books and stuff.
Yes, good afternoon and happy Australia Day. I'm Georgie Donaghy and welcome to the 10th edition of the Author's Shelf. Very excited. You can tune into today's show via the 2SR website on 2SR.com.au or via the TuneIn app on your mobile device. My guest on today's show is adult author Tina Marie Clark. We'll chat about her new book, My Brother But One. And also she's the organiser of the Writers' Conference each year, the CYA conference in Queensland. So get your pens ready for information about that and more. So sit back and relax as we bring you the stories beyond the page. You're listening to the Author's Shelf on 2SR 99.7 FM, Sound of the Shire. Coming up next, Tina Marie Clark. Anyway, today's guest is Tina Marie Clark, or TM Clark. She's the author of My Brother But One, a new novel from Harlequin Books. It's an epic saga exploring the violence and traditions in rural Africa. Tina drew from her childhood upbringing in Zimbabwe to pen her first novel. Tina is also the organiser of the very popular CYA Writers' Conference in Queensland. And here to tell us a little bit more about herself is Tina Marie Clark. Tina Marie, welcome to the Author's Shelf.
Thanks so much for having me this morning.
Tell us, what is the Tina Marie story?
Ooh. Officially, I'm actually an Australian citizen since 2002, so I'm really, really happy that I could do this on Australia Day, because to me it's the longest that I've actually stayed in one place. So I'm really, really happy that I got to do it today and tell you about myself. Basically, like you said, born in Zimbabwe, moved to South Africa for my teenage years, met my gorgeous husband, married him in South Africa in Durban. We had our first child, and then 2 weeks before we were going to move to England, I found I was pregnant with my second. And, so we moved anyway, and then came via England to Australia. We flipped a coin because we were too cold in England, and we went, Australia or the States, and Australia came up, so here we came. And then I moved here, and I now live on beautiful Bribie Island in Queensland.
What a beautiful place to live. Tina, can you just talk into the phone a little bit closer? You're a little bit hard to hear on air here. Sorry about that, listeners.
Okay, do you want me to say
that? Oh, that's much better. Thank you, Tina. Okay, Tina, tell us, when did you realise that you wanted to be a writer?
Probably, I was always writing. And my job was, I was a quality auditor, so I was writing technical manuals. But fiction auditing, fiction writing, probably 1998, 1999, I began writing fiction and actually putting my stories down on paper.
Excellent. And we're going to talk about, you're also the coordinator of the CYA conference. We're going to chat about that in a couple of minutes. I'm back and chatting this afternoon with author Tina Marie Clark. Tina Marie, introduce us to your novel, My Brother But One.
Oh, thanks, Georgie. My novel's basically about Scott and Zor. They fight to keep their way of life in a changing society. It's my heroine's journey when she arrives in Africa and she's seduced by this beautiful place and the beautiful people who live there. And she finds out, like all paradises, there is always a drawback, and it's Isifu Rodney Nube, who is my albino and my villain in the story. Generally, it flows through the story and it follows Ashley's life. It's a novel. It's mostly, to me, it's always been a novel about hope and a knowing that you are actually stronger than you think you are when you're faced with adversities in life.
And how long did it take you to write this novel?
About 10 years.
Wow.
Off and on, obviously. I wrote a little bit, and then I thought it was finished, but it wasn't finished, and then I rewrote and lost the back end of it at one stage and had to rewrite the back end.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's been a long journey, and it's the journey of the book. I obviously cut my teeth on while I was, learning all the crafts, after doing technical writing to actually then go into fiction writing. Yep, a lot of craft to actually learn. So it took a while.
And I actually have 2 copies to give away on today's show, which I'll talk about a little bit later. I've got one of the copies in front of me, and it's just absolutely gorgeous, a breathtaking cover. Who did the cover for you?
Harlequin do the covers.
Oh, it's just gorgeous. And I have read it, and it's wonderful. I'm not going to give away anything out of the book, but you're going to read a little snippet or a little excerpt for us later on. Tell me, when you're writing, do you use any visual aids, such as Pinterest or anything to help you tell the story?
I actually do. I used to do a lot of collaging, where you just cut out pictures and just put photographs on a big board. But I've taken to using Pinterest. If you want to look at my Pinterest, it's the www.pinterest.com/Tina Marie Clark with no E, number 2. And, my books are all on there, and, the work in progresses are all on there, where I now collect all my pictures and put them there, because it's made it so much easier.
So we can see what you're up to next.
You can.
Very interesting.
Shooting Butterflies has got a lot of the collage work is already up there, so yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I mentioned a few minutes ago about your giveaway. I'll just pop the promo on. Hang on.
It's time for the Author Shelf giveaway. Da da da!
Thank you very much, Charlotte. Okay, yes, it's time for another Author Shelf giveaway. Tina Marie has kindly donated 2 copies of her new book, My Brother But One, to give away. For your chance to win, pop over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Author's Shelf, and tell us why you'd like to win a copy of Tina's book. We'll randomly select 2 winners and announce them on our next show. You're listening to The Author's Shelf on 2SR 99.7 FM, Sound of the Shire. Thanks for joining us on The Author's Shelf this afternoon. If you'd like to interact with us during the show, you can send us a message via our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Author's Shelf, or you can tweet us at The Author's Shelf. My guest today is Tina Marie Clark. Tina, what's the best piece of writing advice that you've been given?
Actually, also Robin Grady gave me some advice a few years ago. She told me to stop giving away my time and begin to invest it in myself and in my own writing. And that was magic.
Very good advice, but we do appreciate you giving away your time today.
It was worse than I used to give away my time, like my writing time, to a lot of like non-profit, a lot of time, and invested a lot of time into other things.
Yes.
Now I sort of invest more time into myself. I still do them though. I just don't do as much.
I know exactly what you mean. Do you find having an online presence beneficial in reaching out to your readers?
I'm not sure if it's beneficial, but it is really nice to be able to actually chat to them. I find Facebook is really good because people, just drop you a note on there or private message you, which is very nice.
And I believe your Facebook it's TM Clark Author. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you also write? You've written this beautiful book, My Brother But One, for the adult age market. Do you also write for other genres as well?
I do. I was actually published as a children's author back in 2005, and that was the reason I started the CYA conference. But I haven't actually published, anything else major in that yet. But hopefully it'll be coming one of these days.
Excellent. And what book was that?
It was called African Orphans.
So along the same theme line as well?
Yes, very much so.
Okay. Do you, when you're writing your manuscripts, your stories, do you belong to a group? Do you workshop your manuscripts through a book or through friends, or what do you do? How do you go about it?
I do have like a critique group as such, but I sort of like write my whole book, and then my husband sort of reads it, and then I have 1 or 2 really close beta readers, I guess you'd call them,
right,
who would then read it and tell me what they think. And, yeah.
And how does that go with your husband reading it for you?
It actually goes really well, because when he reads it, he flies away. He works away a lot, so he just does it on Word and just does comments on Word and sends it through to me.
Okay.
So it's basically like just another critique partner. We don't talk much about it, especially if there's something wrong. We don't talk about it, because then we'll just get into a fight. But we just communicate on email about what he thinks and what I think, and he gives his input into it, which it actually works quite well that way.
Okay, so you don't talk face to face about. I was wondering about that.
No, and we actually sit in an office together, and he sits with his back. We sit back to back in our little office. And he will email from his desk to my desk if he has read something, and he will tell me what his 5 cents worth is.
Oh, he's very game sending you something with his back facing you.
No, he's actually been brilliant.
Good.
He's really good. He's helped me a lot with my male voice, because I have male characters obviously, and the male voice seems to, I write what I think a male sounds like, and he goes, male wouldn't say that. So,
okay.
So yes, that does help.
Oh, excellent. All right, we're going to take another short break, and when we return, Tina Marie will read us an excerpt from her new book, My Brother But One. You're listening to The Author's Shelf on 2SSR 99.7 FM, Sound of the Shop. Welcome back. As promised, here is Tina Marie with an excerpt from her book, My Brother But One. Tina, take it away.
Thanks, Georgie. This actually comes from the prologue. Once her son was content and sleeping, she stood up and looked down at her legs. Her bare calves no longer bore the ribbons of gut and fur, decorations that an unmarried Tombi wore. They were bare, just like her kaya and her heart. A husband dead in a great war with the Zulus somewhere far away, and a son no one wanted, banished. Her husband had paid a large lobola for her just a few months ago, 12 cattle. The whole tribe had celebrated with a party. A prize ox had been bled and then slaughtered. Now she was a nothing, a no one, dead to everyone living except her tiny son. She smeared some root muti over her baby's skin to ease the discomfort of his sunburn. Satisfied she had helped him as much as she could, she packed her meager belongings, her husband's assegai, a few skin skirts, and treasured beads. She gathered what little food there was and placed it carefully in her cooking gourd. She rewrapped her son in the kaross and tied him onto her back, with only his head poking out from the soft skin, and tightened the leather below her breasts. Lastly, she rolled up her grass sleeping mat. Balancing her last possession on her head, Maswina stepped out of her kaya. No one looked at her. With confidence and purpose, she walked to the fire pit in the communal area and picked up a burning stick. No one stopped her as she strode back to her hut and lit the dried thatch roof. By the time the other villagers realized she had started a fire in the center of their kraal, she was walking away. As she climbed the kopje where her child had recently lain open to the elements, she looked back to the large kraal she called home since birth. Slowly she smiled. Other huts near hers had caught fire and the flames were spreading. She watched as the villagers who wouldn't look at her scrambled to put out the flames. With delight, she noticed that the Sengoma's hut was burning. He had tried to beat it out with a wet cattle skin. None of his black magic could help him now. Adjusting the bundle of belongings on her head, she raised her voice so her son could hear her. Come, Isifu, my gift. We must search for a friendlier home.
Wow. I have to say, when I read the beginning of the book, it just gave me goosebumps. I love that. Thank you very much for sharing that with our listeners today. Thanks for joining me this afternoon on the Author's Shelf. My guest is Tina Marie Clark. Tina Marie, I understand you also run a very popular conference in Queensland, the CYA conference. Tell us all about that.
Thanks, Georgie. The conference is actually in its 9th year, called the CYA conference. It's aimed as a professional development day for new and established writers and illustrators of children and young adult literature. We have both masterclasses and workshops conducted by authors and illustrators and industry professionals. But a huge component of our conference is actually the networking with those the illustrators and the publishers. Having easy access to the professionals, so we have editors and agents on site, and they are available for appointments for 15-minute one-on-one style. But everything is actually pre-read and previewed, so it's not like it's a 5-second sort of pitch of your book, because I don't think that gets you anywhere. It's sort of everything is more, you get the exposure with the people that they can more help you. It's all about helping people and people on their journey towards publication, and when they publish, to help them further along to get more published.
I was lucky enough to go along to last year's CYA conference, and it was wonderful. I got to meet lots of the authors that I have on my Creative Kids Tales site, and met lots of publishers and editors, and it was just a wonderful experience. How can our listeners find out more about the CYA conference?
We have a website, which is www.cyaconference.com. We also have a page, a Facebook page, and it's all up on those.
Excellent. Now, can you give us a sneak peek? I know that the program hasn't been announced yet, but can you give us a sneak peek on who's presenting at this year's conference?
Actually, I can give you two people.
Oh, okay.
Okay. We actually have Sue Walker. She's coming as the publishing manager from Walker Books, Australia. She's coming as an on-site editor as well as an author talk.
That's Sue Whiting?
Yes, that's correct.
Sue Whiting, excellent. She's been a guest on our show, yes?
And then we've got Aaron Pocock, who's a fabulous illustrator, and he's actually coming to do an illustration. He does illustrates with a computer, so it's all on like a pad. So he's actually going to be illustrating and helping people learn how to use one of those, as well as he just did a book with crowdfunding, and that's a big thing at the moment in our industry. People are trying to get funds. There isn't lots of money around, and so he was actually really lucky, and he managed to do a crowdsourcing initiative of his own and get a book done through that. So he's going to share his secrets with us on how he did that. Excellent.
Crowdfunding is huge, and we'll be chatting more about crowdfunding coming up in a future show here on The Author's Shelf. I'm Georgie Donahue. You're listening, as I said, to The Author's Shelf. What do you love most about writing?
Other than the social aspect where I get to actually have lunch with all the other published authors and have a great time every now and again, I think it would be...
That's the hard part.
That's the very hard part, yeah. That's the hardest. I actually think it would be just getting the stories that are in my head down on the paper so that they stop spinning there and they give me some peace and quiet. So that would be the best thing about writing, is completing the story and letting the characters have their journey.
Do your characters wake you up at night?
Not normally.
Okay. Well, lucky you. They don't wake you up. They don't enter your dreams and say, "Wake up, we've got more to tell you." That's good. They do it at your time, which is great. Tell us, you told us a little bit about the CYA conference before. Now, the CYA conference also has great competitions, which have, I think, when did they launch? It launched in January this month, didn't it?
Yes, they do. They've opened up this month, and then they close in April. We have 3 different sections. We have for published authors who are wanting to put their work in front of somebody and or just use it. They use it a lot like a critique because of the great feedback that they get.
It's excellent feedback. I've entered the CYA competitions before, and the page of feedback that you get is fantastic. So if anyone's listening, definitely enter. Sorry to cut you off there, Tina.
No, that's fine.
I'll let you continue now.
I'm glad you like the feedback. The feedback sheets evolve every year, so we always trying to make it better and see if we can help people in another way. So it is actually quite important. The feedback is really important to us. The aspiring unpublished authors, and illustrators, there's a section for them, and then we also cater for the hatchlings who are 8 years to 18 years. Before 8, it's really hard because a lot of the children are not writing conclusive things and stuff like that. So we've got but there are obviously always the very talented people who will be put in when we get like letters from the English teachers and things. We do actually cater for that as well, for the very gifted. So we have all 3 subjects.
Now, how can somebody enter the competition?
If you look on our website, you go into the competitions page and it'll guide you to whichever you are in. So if you're published, obviously you just click on the published or unpublished or an aspiring. Or if you're a hatchling, you just check it out there.
And there's a small cost involved?
There is a small cost involved. They actually, for the published authors, there's two different costs because of PayPal, because you can either pay by direct transfer into our account, otherwise you pay for PayPal. When you pay by PayPal, there's a charge because that's what PayPal do. So the published authors are $33.50 this year. The aspiring unpublished authors and illustrators are $17, and the hatchlings are $11.50.
That's a very small price for the amount of feedback and everything that you get. That's excellent. And you also find out at the end of the competition where you come, which I was also very happy with as well. Are you an emerging author? Is one of your New Year's resolutions to take that next creative step? Why not visit creativekidstales.com.au? There you'll have a full profile, including displaying your work, networking with others. You'll also find useful tools such as a complete publisher's listing, writing competition information, writing tips, author interviews, and a whole lot more. Visit the Creative Kids Tales website today. What are you waiting for? creativekidstales.com.au. Tina Marie Clark, who's joined me today on the show. Tina Marie, what's the best advice you can give up-and-coming authors?
I always say two things. I go, just write the book that you want to write, and put your bum in that chair and just write it. Because, books don't write themselves. You have to have discipline. You have to actually finish the book. And then the other one was more on the business sense. It's like, because there's so many different avenues that are open to authors. So just don't rush along into the first opportunity that comes your way. You've got to think with your head as well in this business before you publish anything. So writing might be your passion, but it's also your business. So you treat it with professional courtesy.
That's two pieces of excellent advice. Thank you very much for that. And thank you for joining me on the Author's Shelf today for our 10th edition.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so pleased that I could actually be on your show. Thank you.
That's wonderful to have you. And now don't forget this week's giveaway for your chance to win a copy of Tina Marie's book, My Brother But One. Pop over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Author's Shelf, and tell us why you'd like to win a copy of this book. We'll pick two winners and announce them on our next show. If you'd like to find out more about Tina Marie Clark, visit her website, www.tinaclark.com. That's Clark, C-L-A-R-K. There's no E on the end. As I said, it was the 10th edition of our show today. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tina, for joining me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
We'll be back on the 9th of February with a very special guest, children's author and Children's Australian Laureate for 2014/15, Jackie French. Until next time, happy writing. Here's Axiom with Little Ray of Sunshine for My Little Ray of Sunshine, Charlotte.